Greetings, everybody. It is your friendly neighborhood mailman, the Trojan Pair, here with another episode of Trojan Pair Ranks It. And today, in this first really official video, where I'm not just doing something introductory in this series, we are going to look at my ranking of the Legendary Monsterverse Series, which encompasses 4 movies. That is the original Godzilla 2014, Kong Skull Island, Godzilla King of the Monsters, and the most recent movie that came out earlier this year, Godzilla vs. Kong. And I have watched all of these movies pretty much when they all first came out. And I have definite opinions on where I think they are. And there are some varying levels of thoughts on where I would place these and rank these, honestly. Let me just say, when the Monsterverse series first came out with the first Godzilla 2014, it was a reattempt for an American Godzilla movie, and then eventually created a King Kong movie, and it was all beginning to be connected with multiple monsters and whatnot. When the 2014 movie came out, expectations for the movie, or what I think fans like myself wanted out of the movie, were a little bit different than what they became when the last movie, Godzilla vs. Kong, came out. When the first movie, Godzilla 2014, came out, the last American Godzilla movie that had come out was the 1998 Roland Emmerich Godzilla. And the bar was set pretty low because of a lot of the failings of that movie to really create a true Godzilla-like character. The movie itself probably isn't terrible if it were identified as some other type of monster movie other than Godzilla, but because this was promoted as Godzilla, this left a lot of people like myself extremely disappointed at how they interpreted this Godzilla. There are some basic core principles of what Godzilla should be. So in that instance, when the 2014 movie came out, I was very happy with it. But as I start this ranking, I want you to understand that number 4 is actually Godzilla 2014. It is my lowest rated one out of the 4, primarily because it has the most failings to me of any movie that are really hard for me to get over with of any of the movies. But at the same time, when I watched it at the time, I absolutely loved it, and it was great for what it was at its time. Some cons, some pros. One of the pros, obviously, is the fact that you brought back a more traditional Godzilla, although not totally traditional in the fact that he's maybe the 1954 style Godzilla from the original movie, but he's more of a, at least in that movie, it seemed more like a 70s Godzilla, the humanitarian type Godzilla, which was a little surprising to me, obviously, about the movie. But that was a good thing. It was one of the big things that you go into that movie is, okay, how is this Godzilla going to be? That's your biggest concern. And Gareth Edwards, the director of this movie, did a great job with that, because he gave us the kind of Godzilla that we would expect to see in movies. that he did not have the weaknesses that the original one had. He was not, he was big, not necessarily a huge requirement, but he was big. He was very strong. Missiles were not going to phase him. The very beginning of the movie, you see him get nuked, and you know he's pretty tough, right? You know, military is not going to shoot him down with some basic missile. Also, one of the best things that he did was the ability to build things up. That could be considered a bit of a failing because you didn't really see much of Godzilla in the movie, particularly early on. I don't really have too big of an issue with that so much because one of my favorite Godzilla movies is Terror of Mechagodzilla, and to be honest, it kind of follows the same type of formula in a lot of ways. But still, this is something that happens in the movie. And we do get other monsters in the movie, which was totally, well, it wasn't totally unexpected, but we didn't really know what we were getting and how much of it we were getting, primarily because the trailer for the movie was so deceptive. It made you think that Godzilla was the big feature of the movie, and there were in fact scenes in the trailer that weren't the same in the movie. And that was really deceptive about it. I didn't really have a problem with that, but that was definitely a very interesting take. Although one of the deceptions that they had in the movie was one of the people that was kind of felt like was going to be one of the main characters, Bryan Cranston, who was probably the best actor performance character in this movie, gets knocked off in the first half hour or so of the movie, which was extremely disappointing because then you're left with characters that were okay. Serizawa himself, which was a nice surprise to have a Serizawa in the movie, you know, was probably one of the better ones that was left in it. But at the same time, not having Cranston in the movie, you felt like was a real disappointment. The fact that the movie did build up, one of the big things was in the 98 Godzilla, he didn't really breathe atomic fire. This atomic blast radiation of his. They did some kind of tricks to make it look like, ooh, he might be doing it, but he's not really, right? In this movie, it takes a long time, and one of the great things that he does as a build-up is there's a point in the movie where the female Muto is attacking or is going after our main guy, and it looks like he's in trouble. All of a sudden, you start seeing this blue light, and it starts increasing. And it takes a second, and you realize exactly what's happening. Godzilla is about to charge his nuclear breath. And it's a very exciting moment because it takes his time. He's not doing it fast, but you're realizing, oh my God, here it comes. And it's still kind of that moment, out of all the moments, is probably one of my favorite parts because it still gives me kind of goosebumps to this day when that actually happens, because I remember it's like, here it comes. And it didn't disappoint. Now there's also the one part a lot of people like to talk about is the kiss of death at the end, how he defeats the female Muto. That's a cool part too, but to me that part is definitely the best part of the movie, and the build up to it is what makes it so worth it. The style in which he does the movie is very good as well. But probably to me, you know, the cutaway scene at one point early in the movie when it looks like they're going to fight and then it cuts away, it did bother me in the theater because I'm like, oh my God, what is happening here? But at the same time, this is kind of the same formula that happened in Terror of Mechagodzilla. So again, it's forgivable to me. I don't like it, but it was forgivable. The thing that I really bothered me that was not as noticeable when you were in the theater, but when you got it in the home, is that the movie is very dark, as in dark. You can't see anything. It's very dark, this movie. And I'm watching it, and I can't even hardly see what's going on in the movie when there are those night scenes at the final battle. And there's nothing worse, no greater sin than not to be able to see what is happening with the action. It is too dark. And to me, that is something that is unexcusable to me. You have to be able to watch it at home without having to worry about if you're actually able to see what's going on. So, that's last. Third is the new one, Godzilla vs. Kong. This movie is a fun movie. I give you credit for that. A lot of my beef with this movie kind of has to do with the fact that another movie, this one, King of the Monsters, was so heavily criticized. And then this movie comes out, which is a even more dumbed down version of that movie. More so. And yet this one gets high praise. Makes no sense to me. In fact, people say, oh, who cares about the human element? I mean, I think the human element's got to be at least interesting. I don't say it has to be Gareth Edwards level good or Kong Skull Island good, but, let's at least not make it cringeworthy type stuff. And there is pretty irritating stuff that goes on with particularly the Madison Russell co-stars on her side. The two characters that she's with, very irritating at parts, cringeworthy type stuff. I did not like them. Most of the characters, in fact, were pretty much worthless. The only one that was actually really good was the deaf girl, and that was one memorable character from that movie. The battle sequences in the movie are very good. I enjoyed watching those. I was also very glad that Godzilla won the fight between him and Kong, and that there was a sort of redemptive arc where, Godzilla couldn't beat Mechagodzilla, and then Kong comes in and basically saves the day and gets his little moment of glory by defeating Mechagodzilla, with the help of Godzilla, of course, but it was mainly Kong's victory on that one. And of course, it had a little help from the people too in sabotaging Mechagodzilla. So I wasn't thrilled with the design of Mechagodzilla. It certainly is not the worst design that I've seen, but it is. It wasn't that impressive to me. And look, after King of the Monsters, this is kind of a letdown to me, especially with the irritating human element to it as well. I feel like it could have been a lot better, honestly. It was still good. I still enjoy it. I think it is more watchable than this one because of its errors, but it only gets up to number 3. Number 2, Kong Skull Island. Kong Skull Island has probably the best human character element out of all the movies. Even 2014, because, you killed off probably the best one way too early in the movie. This movie, you've got some pretty big name actors, and a lot of them gave really good performances in there. You had Samuel L. Jackson, you had John Goodman, you had, who was the other guy? John C. Reilly. Yeah, those 3 in particular were definitely good. There were some other characters that might not be as well known. They were also very good. I think Tom Hiddleston was kind of a wasted character. Brie Larson was okay. I wasn't too impressed with her character, but they really wasted Tom Hiddleston's character in that movie, which was odd. But what I liked it the first time I saw it, but after rewatching it, getting ready for Godzilla vs. Kong, I realized how well things like the cinematography and all the little little things kind of went into the movie that made it actually really well crafted. It's probably one of the most well crafted movies, and you definitely don't have any of the issues from 2014 in it. The only issue I really have with it, to be honest, other than the fact the main character's not that important, is the fact that the whole Kong and foes in the movie are not really that big in the movie. I mean, you do get your money's worth from it, but I don't know, I kind of feel like, you know, could we have had maybe a little bit more? I don't know. But that's a minor gripe. It was a very good movie. I do like it a lot. But it doesn't hold a candle to my #1 legendary movie, which is Godzilla, King of the Monsters. King of the Monsters, first off, the trailers. The trailers blew me away. From the first trailer all the way to the last trailer, which was the Somewhere Over the Rainbow one, which is probably my favorite trailer of all time. They did a wonderful job of crafting the trailers. They may have shown a little bit too much of the movie with all the trailers and whatnot, which kind of led to a little bit of disappointment. People do complain a lot about the fact that it's always dark, whatnot. Get over it. Who cares? Yes, it's nice to be able to see them fight in the day, but I don't care about that. I care about, is the movie enjoyable? And everything about it. Yeah, you got some characters that may not be kind of the most likable characters, you know, kind of those cringeworthy characters. I personally didn't find it that bothersome at all. Not like in this one. This one, some of the characters just downright got on my nerves. This one, not so much. There were some people that kind of found that with a couple of the characters, at least one of the characters in it, but I didn't have a problem with it. You had some really, this is one of those movies where, yeah, okay, some of the stuff doesn't make sense that they come up with for bad guy versus good guy. Who cares? Did you see what the world this movie put up and y'all love this movie? Please, don't give me this when you're giving me this. That basically invalidates your arguments for it. This is a fun little movie where they had this, you know, sort of crazy sort of universe that they had built, and it was awesome. You got Ghidorah, you got Rodan, you got Mothra, you had all these great elements in there. Yeah, they didn't show a ton of the fighting going on in it, but it's not like they just downright took you away from it and then made it unwatchable at home to where you can't even see the parts that you should be able to see. It's a great movie. But the thing that really, I think, is the top-notch #1 thing about this movie is the score. Bear McCreary was the composer for this, and he did an amazing job. One of the great compositions for a Godzilla movie, because he took a lot of original music and he made it into his own in a way that was really, really good. I mean, this is one of those things that even my sister likes so much that she listens to his musical renditions of it, and she doesn't even care about that kind of stuff. But she likes that. She loves that. I love it. The Bear McCreary score really sets things in motion in the movie. You have the intensity, and I saw this movie multiple times at the theater, which is something that we don't normally do, but that's how much I love this movie. This is definitely up there in terms of Godzilla movies. It's the only one of these that's going to be that high. Is it my favorite or even top 3 necessarily? It's definitely not my favorite. I don't even know if I put it top 3. Maybe top 5. Maybe. I might put it top 5 Godzilla movies. But it is definitely the best of the Legendary Monsterverse. And I think that Michael Daughtry did an outstanding job with what he was intending to do with it. So that's my thoughts of the Legendary Monsterverse. I don't know what you think about it, but give me some feedback on the comments, and let's hear what you think about it. And then maybe like the video, possibly, you know. Subscribe if you don't already. I've got lots of different series that you can look into. And I'll see you next time on the season finale of Trojan Pair Ranks It, where I'll talk about my top videos of this past season. Till then, blessings everybody. Bye-bye.